update on old Betsy 1418. I don't know.
Are you gonna shed a tear first?
Yeah, I need a beer to pour one for my dead homie. Yeah. All right, so I guess we'll do a little recap since we hadn't technically said what happened to the motor. So we pulled the motor apart. Had a coolant leak of some sort somewhere. Believe we were having fueling issues. Don't do this. Don't be stupid and do an actual Y, not a T. Just because it worked before doesn't mean it's gonna work again. So listen from my mistakes, or learn from my mistakes, and don't do that. Get the proper fitting and listen to your tuner. Not only was that part of the issue, I believe.
Why do you think that's part of the issue?
So you're not supposed to run a T, you're supposed to run a Y, and it makes the fuel flow better. It doesn't deadhead the fuel and then have to go one way or the other. So that, I believe, was part of the issue. We had injectors that I think were not flowing properly. Even though we flow tested them, they were good at the time when we flow tested them, but I think we were having a fuel filter issue as well as fuel pumps. So this is kind of a combination of multiple things that I believe led to this, which ultimately the motor was doomed to fail from the get-go based on when we were pulling the motor apart. The rings were falling off the pistons. We then took the rings and measured the gap based on the bore, and they were gapped for a naturally aspirated motor, not a forced induction motor. This motor was supposed to be forced induction from the get-go, so the rings that we could check that weren't in a million pieces, we checked the gap and they were not gapped properly. So it was kind of doomed from the get-go. But along with all the other issues, I think it reared its ugly head sooner than later. We probably only had, with testing, tuning, and everything on this, I bet we maybe had 60 miles on the brand new motor. When ultimately we knew something was wrong. So to this day, we still do not know where the coolant came from, whether it was a head gasket issue. I don't know. Maruzzi looked at the head gaskets. Sanchin looked at the head gaskets. We couldn't find a glaring gun. So right now, I guess we'll backtrack a little bit to after we found out the motor was toast, bearings were wasted because when the rings basically shattered, sent material through the motor, messed up all the bearings. The pistons were burned on that side of the motor, which we believe was fueling issues. Unfortunately, the Holley system we have, you cannot read AFR on both sides of the motor. It only does one side of the motor. In the future, I would like to get a different computer from Holley. Holley makes a computer that you can read both banks. You can run O2 sensors on both sides.
Should we just do that?
We'll see how far we get, but I would like to run fuel pressure sensors on both banks of the motor as well. If we can with this system, we'll do that. But I would like to add some type of sensory data to where we can, if we can look at that data and plug it into the computer to read that data, ultimately, I believe in my head, I don't know, I gotta talk to Sanchin about it, but we could save, see the issues before we ultimately have a problem with the motor. But hindsight's 2020. I will be plumbing the truck because we are going to different fuel pumps. A buddy of mine that preps trophy trucks and 6100 trucks and all that stuff, all that fun stuff, he had some used fuel pumps that I was able to get off of him, and they are I believe Area Motive A1000 in-tank fuel pumps, so we will no longer have an external fuel pump, which was part of the issue, I believe. The intake fuel pumps should work a lot better. One pump can run the truck now, so we'll have redundancy. We have 2 pumps. We'll have to cut another hole in the fuel cell to add the next fuel pump. I have to machine new fuel plates to allow this fuel pump to go into the tank. So that means, like I said, we got to add a whole nother fuel plate to add the redundancy, which would be needed even if we ran one fuel pump, because I can't get the sending unit, the tip over valve, I can't get the return line, I can't get everything on one of those fuel plates for a fuel cell, for the fuel safe mounting. And then rather than going to like a big old fuel plate, I don't want to do that. I'd rather add another one. Yeah, a secondary one. So like I said, we'll be re-plumbing it. It'll have it'll have redundancy now, so we don't have that issue. Moving a little bit forward, after we found out what was wrong with the motor, I reached out to Robert, who's a good buddy of mine, and he offered to have the block machined. The head's gone through with the company that he uses to do all that. So Sanch and I were going to put the motor together ourselves. You know, Sanchin's familiar with assembling motors. I've never done it. The farthest I've ever been in a motor was a 2.9 liter V6 out of my Ranger when I was I think I was 17, and we put a new head on it, and that's about as far as I've been in a motor. So Sanch and I were supposed to put the motor together. After talking with Robert Maruzzi with Maruzzi Race Motors, he offered to build the motor for us, which he's mainly an LS guy. That's his bread and butter. I think you felt bad for me, Robert. so he offered to build this motor, even though this is a motor that he has never built before. So yeah, I was super stoked when he offered to do that, because he's a very renowned, reputable motor builder, and a lot of the trucks that we have built in the past have his motors in them, and they all run flawlessly. They run great. If I can support my friends, I would prefer to support my friends other than other companies that I know nothing about. The wife and I were both stoked that Robert built this motor for us. We ended up putting different cams in it. Robert, it was funny. So once we dropped the motor off, you know, all he was going to do was machine it, send it out to his guys to be machined. And he started texting me, you know, oh, you need this, and you know, I measured this, and I put the piston back in, and this, and you know, all this motor lingo and jargon that I have no idea. We need this cam, and we need this, and you know, I really appreciate it when people explain stuff to me and give me the knowledge that I don't know, because I was there at one point in the off-road industry, and if anybody's ever started, you know, it's kind of frowned upon if you don't do your own research in the off-road industry first, and I got a lot of that when I first started in the off-road industry. So it's definitely a breath of fresh air when someone is willing to help you out and, you know, give you that information. So Robert, you know, he spec'd out a custom cam, because the old cams that we bought were off-the-shelf comp cams, and they were good, but after Robert and I spoke, he said there's a lot left on the table if we can go with custom cams. So he spec'd out a cam. cams and had them made for this motor. They should have quite a bit of low, whereas before the motor sounded stockish.
Sound the same.
Yeah, it sounded stock. It had a deeper like punch to it when it was running, like deeper throat, like more thumpy, but it didn't have that like can lob, that everybody wants. But so now it should have some of that, which I know that's all just it sounds cool, but it actually is going to benefit this motor in the end. We are going to run the stock blower for now. We will be buying a 2.3 Whipple in the future as funds allow, and that will keep the intake air temps down on the motor, which this stock Eaton blower, they create higher intake temperatures, and they're not really designed. I don't know. I didn't design it, so I shouldn't say that, but for everything I read is the lower you can keep air intake temps down on these motors, the better, which a Whipple will allow us to do that in the future. Also, it'll give us more power in the future as well, which, not that we're looking for more power, but we're looking for reliability, and lower intake temperatures will create that reliability as well. What else am I missing? I know I'm sure I'm missing something.
So we went from Sanchin's shop to Robert's, dropped the motor off, had him build it, and then you
Robert
put
did everything. He ordered the parts. It was definitely a pleasure to work with him from a customer standpoint. I mean, he took care of everything. He had all the gaskets for the motor. He had everything. I mean, I didn't need to buy. The only thing I bought spark plugs and oil. That was it. So that was super awesome of Robert to, basically hold our hand through the whole process.
So after that, you came and put the motor in.
So the day we picked up the motor from Robert, we brought it home. I had it on the engine hoist. I decided just to drop it in the truck because the old motor is still on the engine stand. So I dropped it in the truck, got the motor mounts, everything, where it needed to be. And then the next couple of weeks, I slowly got the transmission back on, got the drive shaft back on, cleaned everything. I'm super OCD when I put stuff together, so I clean everything before I put it together. I don't want to just slap stuff together.
You bought the ultrasonic cleaner to do.
Yeah, I bought buy an ultrasonic cleaner. It'll save your life. So bought the ultrasonic cleaner. Cleaned all the bolts, cleaned everything, re-cleaned the plenum, got the plenum back on, lower intake plenum back on. The reason the blower is not on yet is because I have to strip the rotors. These Eaton blowers are known for I don't know if it's Teflon or a powder coat or what it is, but they put some type of coating on the rotors. I think it creates less friction, and they start coming off of the rotors on the blower. So I did a bunch of research. They say strip it off, just leave it raw aluminum. That way you don't have any issues, because it tends to start clogging your intercooler. It clogs all the fins in there, which there was some in here. I've cleaned it out since. But I don't want to risk the issue or have any issues with this motor that I can prevent. So we're going to take the time, strip the rotors. It doesn't come off very well with aircraft stripper, depending on what the coating is. I don't know, but I'm almost having to sand it off, and then I'll re-polish the rotors when I'm done. And then we'll get that back on. Somehow I lost the harmonic balancer. I cannot find it. So I don't know if I left it at someone's shop. It got misplaced. I have no idea what happened to it. It might have fell out of the diesel. Who knows? But we got to get a new harmonic balancer. Probably going to buy a factory style one, because the lower supercharger pulley is aftermarket and actually bolts to the factory harmonic balancer. So I got to get that. Still got to order injectors because we are going to a bigger injector. Because on the other motor, we were running out of injector. We were basically at the end of the injector duty cycle. We don't want to have any of that issue because this motor is going to be capable of a decent amount more power, especially when we run the new Whipple. And I don't want to have any of those issues. Anything we can do to prevent issues on this motor, we're going to do. We got to add an engine oil cooler. We might change up the intake a little bit to allow more air to flow. I think that's pretty much
plumb
it.
And the new filler plates.
Yeah, filler plates, plumb the new fuel system, which I think I have most of everything I need as far as fittings. It's just got to be reconfigured now because the fuel pumps are going to be on the actual fuel cell. They're not going to be on the frame rail anymore. And we're not going to really need a pre and post. We'll need a post filter, but not a pre filter with the Holly mats.
You can use all your plumbing mounts.
Yeah, and then I have these cool plumbing mounts. I'll go grab one so you can kind of see what they look like. All right, I'm back. I designed these about 2020 roughly. And these we have them in like a -6, -8. These are both -6 for the last truck I put them on. There's a few trucks that we have there we were working on right now that I am putting them on as well. This is a steel portion, and this is aluminum. It's got a countersunk Allen head, but these can be basically welded onto any flat surface. And then we also have the tube style that can go onto a tube. These are for 2-inch, but I also have them for 1 3/4. So you can run them, like these are just, they have a nutsert and they're just Allen headed, but these are nice because you can actually weld them and they actually capture, and with one bolt you can hold both lines on at once. So like I said, I put these on Taylor's Tundra that we built a few years ago, and they work really well. So something cool that we'll have up on our website soon. But yeah.
Another part that you never put on your truck that you can put on now.
I'm horrible at putting parts on my. I think the only thing I have on my truck that we offer right now is
the fuel plates.
The fuel plate. That's one. Finally got one of those on there. Now they're gonna get new ones.
Sway bars.
And sway bars. That's
the sway bar arms.
I think that's about it. Sway bar arms and the fill plate. So
you don't even have your lights on there? I
don't have the KC mounts on here.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm really horrible about putting my own stuff on.
Would you say truck. You can't afford your own parts?
The running joke is I can't afford my own parts. So but yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with old Betsy 1418.
So game plan, your birthday or the clean desert?
I don't know if we'll have it going for my birthday. Sanchin just put a dyno in his shop, so we will be dynoing this truck this time. Before we did out in the desert street tune on the fly, which isn't bad, but if you could dyno, I would definitely like to dyno this thing and actually see what it's capable of and what it makes. And it's a lot easier to address issues when it's on a dyno than when you're out in the desert fighting, don't have the proper light.
Fighting things with fuel leaks and
fuel leaks and other issues and
alternator draw problems.
Yeah, it's a lot easier when you're in a shop atmosphere and all the tools are right there in the toolbox, not in the back of your truck, trying to work out of the back of your truck. So one thing we will be doing in the future is we're going to reupholster the 3G seats. Those are my favorite seats, so I don't know if it's more cost effective to just buy new ones or have them reupholstered, but it'd be cool to reupholster them and put some of our logos in them and stuff like that. But that's something I definitely want to do in the future.
So clean desert maybe?
So hopefully clean desert is I don't know if we'll make my birthday, but definitely want to make clean desert again.
Which is November 2nd, I believe.
Yeah, November 2nd. They're going to have a trunk or treat. If you have any questions, message Clean Desert on Instagram or Adam. who is the one that heads it up, but it should be a good time. We should have a booth there this year again, and not hopefully, but we will be supporting them with some of our products for the raffle as well. So,
and then
our ultimate goal is to race Rage at the River again. This prep that we did last time, it wasn't a full prep, but it was a decent prep. I believe we only have, 60 miles on this truck since the new motor and the prep went down. So I don't think we need to do a full prep, maybe just once over, nut and bolt check everything. Like I said, the transmission and the motor were just out, so.
How many hours are you spending on her?
What do you mean?
Like, how much time do you have right now?
Lately, I haven't been spending a lot of time on our own personal projects. The reason being is because I have 2 other projects that I'm currently finishing up that need all the attention I have right now. I definitely feel guilty when I work on my own stuff, so if I've been trying to maybe, and this is like a maybe, put a couple hours a week into my own personal truck. Right now I am stripping the supercharger, which we'll show you right now, but yeah, it's kind of I don't want to say on the back burner, but it's on the back burner. I don't know before the race if we'll have both fuel pumps in full redundancy, but we'll definitely have one pump in at least. Yeah, that's kind of a little update for Betsy 1418, and hopefully you like some of the more raw aspect of what we do, and it's not all flashy. We're working on getting our website going to where we can hopefully sell some of the products that we make, because I know a lot of people have asked us for stuff that we make, and right now we just do it kind of by word of mouth. It's not really.
Or Instagram.
DMs. Yeah. If you guys need anything, you can always hit me up on Instagram. If I don't get back to you right away, it's because I don't have the best service. Just hit me up and let me know what you need. If we can help you out, we will. We're trying to get the website going so we could sell some of our products, like I said, and help fund our racing. Also, if any of our products that some people do own and have, if there's things that you're like, hey, do this or make these changes, or
any suggestions.
Yeah, any suggestions. Like I said, I don't know everything, but I know enough to get myself in trouble. So, yeah, that's kind of what's been going on with us. I know the wife's been working on the videos, and it's kind of been hard to get them out with the kids and everything, and just life. So
what are we looking at?
All right, so this is the supercharger rotors. Basically, this compresses the air and shoves it into the motor. So as you can see, it has this like gray coating on it. I'm not touching it right now because it has the aircraft stripper on it right now. But what happens is over time this coating starts to flake off, and as you can see, like in the very root of it, that's where it was the worst, and I've been slowly stripping it off. But this stuff is it's on there, so I almost have to sand it off, and I'll have to come back and kind of polish it up after, but it's kind of been a slow process. So I probably have like 40 minutes into this right now.
How many coats?
I put like 2 coats on it, but I haven't touched it in like a week, so hopefully I can get back on it this weekend while I'm machining some parts or doing something else when it doesn't take my full attention, and get her stripped off and then get her put back together. And there's not a lot to do, but there's a lot to do. Stay tuned for more Betsy 1418.